Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Krishna, and in this video I'm going to share with you a really simple but powerful technique to work with shapes using the lasso tool to create things that have some form. So this particular example right here utilizes this technique where you can see that there's a large dark area, these mountains, and there are certain little indentations that suggest form. So let's go ahead and get started. This is how the technique works. We're first going to shift to the lasso tool. The lasso tool is in the toolbar. You want to make sure that you choose the freeform lasso tool. It looks like what you would imagine a lasso would look like. And what we're going to do is we're simply going to make an enclosed shape. I'm making this shape asymmetrical. In other words, you can't fold the shape in half and have it be perfect like you would with a circle or a rectangle. So asymmetry has to do with the fact that there is an imbalance in this enclosed shape. So if I fill this in, I can use Option, Delete, or Alt Backspace to fill this in. And then I can hit Command D to deselect. And what I can do now is I can use the lasso tool, keyboard shortcut L, and I can simply make some wavy lines that imply the roundness of this form. So I'll just go ahead and make another enclosed shape. This enclosed shape, if we look at it more carefully, appears to have ridges. And now on that same layer that I've made the shape, if I hit Command or Control X, you can see that this shape now has some form. So I can always accentuate that by adding a few dots, adding a few extra lines. And it's a really powerful way of working. And this is a technique that is especially good if you are new to digital drawing and you just want to feel like you're making some progress and you want to have a low pressure way of getting into it. So this is an example of a rock. Let's go ahead and do something a little bit more sophisticated. Let's say, for example, I have a tree. So on a new layer, I'm making the trunk of a tree. I'm just defining its basic shape. I'm going to hit Option Delete or Alt Backspace. I'll hit Command D to deselect. And what I'll do now is I'll imply the form. So usually when we look at the bark of trees, again with the lasso tool, I'm simply going to create an enclosed shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. If I look at what I have here, you can see that there are parts where it's a little bit thicker and a little bit thinner in terms of the actual selection that I've made. And I'm going to hold the Shift key down. Holding down the Shift key will add to my existing selection. So this allows me to go ahead and make multiple selections at once. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to leave the area on the right. I'm going to have that be a little bit darker. So let's see what this effect looks like. If I hit Command X, I have the bark of a tree. I can come back in with my brush. And what this is also doing is, and I'll make the right side a little bit more, I'll add more lines there just to kind of make that look a little bit darker. And what this is doing is it's implying some form. It's kind of an illusion, really. It's giving the viewer this idea that this isn't just a flat shape, but that it actually has some structure to it. And we can also add that further by just making a few lines to convey the root of the tree just by drawing these lasso selections and hitting Command S. We're getting the idea that this form is rounded. And as a bonus tip, if you want to imply that there is some grass or something else, you can always just make a few simple curvy line selections like this and hit Command X. And right away you've got these grassy shapes. You can add a little bit of grass. And this is a fun way of working, especially if you are learning how to work with backgrounds or you want to make a background, you've never done it before. This is a pretty low point of entry in terms of being able to be successful without too much effort. You can always come back in, you can draw your branches, etc. Remember that branches tend to get thicker as we move towards the trunk. And there's really no wrong answers. And those of you that are familiar with this tip, I'll leave you with a bonus tip because you've been watching so patiently here. Let's say that I want to go ahead and generate some leaves around this tree trunk. So let me just first move this into position. I'll make a brand new layer. And with that lasso tool, once again, I'll just define an overall shape. Except this time, I'm not going to fill anything in. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'll take my brush tool and I'm going to just crank it up large. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to make this repeating pattern. And we all know, if we look at a tree, the density of leaves and the, kind of like the overall, I guess it's darker towards the center. And as we start to proceed out towards the edges, we'll just go ahead and add a few little curves like this. And this is giving us a sense of light, right? We're getting the areas that are on the edge of this are with a thinner line weight, and the edges that are the areas that are closest to the trunk appear to be thicker and darker, so we're conveying a sense of shading or shadow. And this is a really important concept when you're inking. And this might be a question that you're having right now. I'm inking with a red color, and this is typically how I actually pencil. I pencil in red. I'm just kind of taking a little bit of shortcuts here by just using red. But typically you ink with black. And what I'm doing is this lasso tool selection, what it does is it restricts me from drawing outside of this shape. It gives me, an overall boundary for which I'm drawing my tree. So now you can see I have this set of leaves. I can always come back in. Maybe if I want, I can add another branch. I can just add that up and I've got something that looks fairly solid. So if you found this tip to be helpful, please consider giving it a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we just broke 1,000. Now we're at, I think, 1,019. Not that anyone's keeping track or anything, but your support means a lot to me, and I appreciate you for watching the video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.